The story opens late at night in Paris, where Driss is driving his quadriplegic employer, Philippe, through the city. Driss speeds, bets he can lose the police but is ambushed. He then bets he can get an escort and fakes an emergency, telling the cops Philippe is ill. Philippe also fakes convulsions, and the police, believing it is a real emergency, escort them to the hospital. To celebrate winning the bet, Driss plays September by Earth, Wind and Fire. He smokes with Philippe, then drives them away before the hospital staff can find them. This friendship started many months ago when Philippe and his assistant Magali were interviewing for a new caretaker. The applicants were very standard, but Driss storms in, only wanting his papers signed to get unemployment benefits. He is blunt and a little rude, but Philippe finds him amusing and asks him to come back the next day for the signed papers. Driss returns to his humble neighborhood, where he lives with his many younger siblings and his sister Mina. He notices his brother Adama getting out of a suspicious car. When their mother arrives, Driss gives her a Fabergé egg he stole and says he's been on vacation, but she is angry because he disappeared for 6 months and hasn't called. She kicks him out. Driss spends the night with friends. The next day, Driss goes back to Philippe's house for his papers. The housekeeper Yvonne shows him around and he is offered the job. He accepts the 1-month trial and Philippe bets he won't last 2 weeks. Driss learns to care for Philippe, including stimulating his legs, putting him in a wheelchair and helping him shower. He initially complains about having to put on stockings and clean his employer's bottom, but eventually accepts it. He also learns to organize Philippe's mail and starts a secret file for flyers promoting female escorts. He continues his old habits, flirting with Philippe's assistant, Magali, and calling escorts. One morning, Yvonne finds weapons in Driss's bag but doesn't comment. Driss refuses to put Philippe in the back of a van, instead using a fancy car. Yvonne disapproves, but Philippe is excited by the faster, less boring ride. When a neighbor parks in a forbidden spot, Driss confronts him, grabbing him by the shirt and threatening him until he moves his car. Philippe is impressed, but Yvonne disapproves. The pair go to a museum, where Philippe plans to buy a piece of art that Driss thinks is a red blotch. Afterward, a relative of Philippe's expresses concern about Driss, mentioning his criminal record, but Philippe says he appreciates Driss because he doesn't pity him. After another failed attempt to flirt with Magali, Driss has dinner with Yvonne, who explains that Philippe is pen pals with a woman named Eleanor but has never met her. Driss teases Yvonne about the gardener, then goes to bed. He is woken by the baby monitor and hears Philippe having trouble breathing. Driss goes to his room and gently guides him through the attack. Philippe wakes up again, needing air, and Driss takes him out for a stroll. This is the first time Philippe has seen Paris at night in a long time. He explains his medicine can only do so much and he sometimes experiences phantom pain. He also confesses he can't pleasure a woman but can still find satisfaction from having his ears massaged. Driss shares a joint with him and Philippe, initially skeptical, loves it. They go to a restaurant where Philippe shares his story. He met his wife when they were students, adopted his daughter Elisa after his wife had 5 miscarriages, and his wife later died from an incurable illness. Philippe loved extreme sports and got his paragliding accident when bad weather caused him to crash. He still thinks his real handicap is living without his wife. Philippe remembers the date and officially hires Driss, but tells him to bring back the Fabergé egg he stole, which was a gift from his wife. The next day, Driss talks to Mina, who is offended he hasn't answered her texts, and tells him cops have been calling their home. He then visits Adama, who confesses he was found with 30 grams on him. Adama refuses to go to lunch with Driss and gets into the same suspicious car. Later, Driss is present while Philippe dictates a letter to Eleanor. Driss thinks the prose is boring and that Philippe should be more direct. He finds her phone number and calls her, obliging Philippe to take the phone and speak to her, which goes so well they begin talking on the phone all the time. Driss convinces Philippe to exchange pictures, and he chooses one of him in the wheelchair. Elisa bursts into Driss's room and makes fun of him for trying to be artistic, so he kicks her out. He goes to complain to Philippe, who is surprised to learn Driss has been painting. Days pass and their friendship grows. Driss takes him to play in the snow and runs with him. Philippe buys Driss his first suit and scolds his daughter. Driss finishes his first painting, and Philippe promises to try and sell it. They enjoy getting a faster car, sharing joints, and hiring escorts together. For Philippe's birthday, he is not excited. Driss finds Elisa crying in her room after taking some of Yvonne's pills because her boyfriend Bastien broke up with her. She asks Driss to talk to him, which he agrees to do for a price. Meanwhile, Philippe shows Driss's painting to a relative and convinces him to buy it for 11,000 euros. Driss plays Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire, at the party and dances, convincing the guests to join him. Later, Driss opens Eleanor's latest letter, which includes a picture and says she will visit Paris next week. On the day of the date, Yvonne and Driss help Philippe choose an outfit. Driss uses his day off to visit Bastien and threatens him into apologizing to Elisa and bringing her croissants every day. He also visits his mother at work, but only watches her from afar. At the restaurant, Philippe waits for Eleanor, who is an hour late. He gives up and calls Driss to take him away, leaving the restaurant without seeing Eleanor arrive at the same time. That same night, Philippe takes Driss in his private plane and gives him the money from the painting. They go paragliding and Driss, after initially freaking out, enjoys the experience. When they return home, Adama is waiting for Driss. Driss scolds him for having scars on his face, but Adama still won't talk about what's happening. Driss puts Philippe to bed. Philippe asks Driss about his family and Driss eventually gives in. He reveals that Adama isn't his brother and his parents aren't his real parents. They're his aunt and uncle. They brought him from Senegal when he was 8. His real name is Bakary Baysari. Philippe points out that Adama needs discipline and fires Driss so he can be with his family, telling him he can't spend his whole life taking care of an old man. The next morning, Driss packs his bags. Magali says goodbye, and when Driss tries to hit on her one last time, she introduces him to her significant other, Frederic, revealing she is not interested in men. Driss gives up on the spot. On his way out, he gives the baby monitor back to Yvonne and finds the picture of Philippe he had chosen for Eleanor's letters hidden in the escort file. He throws the file away but keeps the photo. Outside, a car is blocking the entrance again and Driss, no longer an employee, still tells him to move. A few hours later, the two brothers pick up their mother at the station. Back at the house, Philippe is having dinner with his new caretaker, who is stuffy and boring. Philippe leaves without eating. As days pass, Driss returns to his old life. He hangs out with his old friends and tells the guys from the suspicious car to leave Adama alone. He gets a job as a driver by calling himself pragmatic and using the art knowledge he acquired from Philippe. Philippe continues to dislike his new caretaker. One night, he refuses help for his phantom pain, so Yvonne calls Driss. This leads to the situation from the beginning, with the cops chasing them and then escorting them. Afterward, Driss drives Philippe to the coast, and the sight of the sea helps Philippe calm down. Sometime later, Driss shaves Philippe's beard and takes him to a restaurant for lunch. He doesn't stay as someone else will be joining him. Driss wishes him luck and finally gives him back the Fabergé egg before leaving. Philippe worries about being alone until he sees who his date is, Eleanor, who is delighted to see him and doesn't mind the wheelchair at all. An epilogue reveals the real Count Philippe Pozo de Borgo lives in Morocco, is remarried and has 2 daughters. The real Driss, Abdel Yasmin Selou, has his own firm and is also married with 3 children. The 2 men remain very close friends. And that's where the story ends. The Intouchables reminds us that true friendship knows no barriers, whether it's wealth, class, or physical limitations. It shows us how laughter, trust, and compassion can heal wounds deeper than we realize, and that sometimes the most unlikely people can change our lives forever. I give The Intouchables a 9 out of 10. It's heartfelt, funny, and uplifting, a perfect balance of humor and emotion. The chemistry between Francois Cluzet and Omar Sy is unforgettable, and the film delivers its message with warmth and sincerity without ever feeling forced. It's one of those rare stories that makes you laugh, cry, and reflect all at once. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your favorite moment from the movie in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video for more inspiring recaps.